Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the BCSN GameTime Show. I am Roy Evans. It's week 1 of the HBCU football season, but it's also the start of the HBCU volleyball season. Thank you all for coming out. As you see, I think, let me see if I get this right. Right over there, I've got Coach Penny Lucas White, the head coach at Alabama State, here with me. Coach, first, I want to say thank you before I get the little spiel about letting folks come out because I know you're busy. We're going to get you in and out of here, but we had to get some things started, folks. Like I said, we're on location. I am in Miami this weekend. We're getting ready for the Orange Blossom Classic tomorrow afternoon. We're Alabama State. The Hornets will be taking on the Eagles of North Carolina Central in this great game that has returned here recently. And so we're looking forward to having fun. Now, one of the things that you guys know that I've talked about throughout the last couple of weeks as we've been doing our preseason for the season is that we're kicking off our She Has Now initiative, where we are talking to women of African descent in college sports with an emphasis on those at HBCU Sports and those who are making a difference and doing some great things. And so that is why our first guest gets to be Coach Penny Lucas White, who we are, I believe, Coach, we thought about it yesterday. Right now, you are the most senior coach in the SWAC. How you doing today, Coach?
I am fabulous. I am at this present moment. The Rose Washington was the longest lasting tenured coach who retired just this past December at Jackson State. So yes,
at Jackson State, right? We were talking to our folks at Jackson, our Jackson State alumni. We're actually going to try to get her in and talk to her a little bit about her experiences and some of the things that have gone on. So let's do this, Coach. Why don't we start off with let's start off with the present. Tell us what you're looking for to happen with your now. Is it the Lady Hornets or the Hornets for you guys?
They like to say Lady Hornets. It's okay.
Lady Hornets. Okay. So we know the last season, if I'm not mistaken, you won the regular season, but yes, Coach Rose and her team ended up knocking you guys out in the tournament. So talk a little bit about how the season ended, but what you guys are looking for this year.
Well, I want to say first, we had a fabulous season last year. And I like, as a head coach, that we always start off with some type of book that leads us. And our book last year was Pound the Stone. And so that book was incredible for us to take us day in and day out to make sure that we created a team and a product on the floor that could show up every day and go a season undefeated. Tells me, one, we had a mark on our backs, as we do always. We won the regular season the season before. And since I've been here, we've collected approximately 12 championships, whether it was in season, regular season and the conference tournament postseason. But that says a lot about the product that we put on the floor. I would never take anything away from my colleagues and what they're doing. I am so excited about HBCU volleyball. Grambling State took Alabama to 5 last night. Jackson State knocked off 2 PWIs. Norfolk State knocked off 2 PWIs. I can go on and on. FAMU split yesterday. And my colleagues are doing a fabulous job. And I want to say, it was the turn to me was around COVID. The George Floyd brought a lot of our kids back home, and they are being trained and they are representing well. I hate the fact that something like that had to happen. But when I tell you, if you look across the board, HBCU volleyball is a team or teams to be reckoned with. They are no joke this season. I was so excited when I looked at all the games from yesterday and watching how our teams are performing.
Well, see, so we're going to throw a little shameless plug in there, Coach, because, for the last 3 seasons, nobody has streamed more HBCU volleyball than the Black College Sports Network. And we mad that we couldn't be there this weekend, but we working on something. Don't worry, we working on getting back now. We need you. We need the help from the coaches to get out there and make sure y'all hit the commissioner up and be like, hey, these other folks aren't going to do it. Let us get some people who are going to do some things for us.
Yes, sir.
But let's talk about, you talked about your team a little bit. Let's tell us about a few players that we need to look out for with the ladies. Now, see, because, and we've had this conversation, I am a rattler. And if I'm not mistaken,
okay. I'm going to let you have that. It's
you guys have you have a player that's over there, correct? Or did you lose? You have, yeah, okay. So let me let you talk about that.
Let me
Bring in Coach AJ too.
So the team that I had this past season, I had them since COVID. And remember, we did not play in 2020. So I had my team for a very long time. And so they were really close to my heartstrings. There's a difference when I love for my team to become family, but it's almost hard to push. I got everything out of them that I could. But I, as a coach, needed a fresh start as well, because it's only so far I could push my kids. And I told my team halfway through the season, if we don't get it done, I don't want you to say, oh, we got next year. I said, I want you to plan on this being your last year here if you are a senior, because that's what's normal. I don't care what the rest of the country's doing with the 5th years and all of that. Don't get me wrong. It's been official. My daughter got an MBA during the COVID 5th year. It's okay. But I wanted something new too. Yes, Jada Rhodes was great for us. Jada Rhodes is a phenomenal person and player. And yes, she's at FAMU. I think it's a good thing when student athletes can test the waters and go experience 2 different institutions, and for some 3. But I know here she thrived, and I know we were her foundation. She is who she is because of Alabama State University. And I'm going to leave it right there.
So now, do you have any folks that are on the team this year that we need to be watching out for? Because I know you guys. So well, first off, you guys are doing a tournament down there, correct?
We are.
Is what it is. Okay. Tell us a little bit about the tournament, because I think, again, it's not being streamed. Most people don't even know about it.
Okay, so this weekend, this is exciting. We have Louisiana Monroe, University of Louisiana Monroe here. We have Nicholls State University, and we have South Carolina State University here. Yesterday, we beat University of Louisiana Monroe, and we beat South Carolina State. Today, at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, we will be playing Nicholls State University. Next week, we have the University of Arizona here, the University of Alabama here, and Prairie View here. I want to say Grambling State took Alabama to 5 right now. So, yes, I want to say HBCU is here. It's going to be a phenomenal weekend here next weekend as well. And then that following Tuesday is still in the Acadome. We're going to have Troy University. I thought, because we were going to be so young, I wanted to stay home this year quite a bit. My team showed up and showed out yesterday. We are deeper than we've ever been. One time I had 4 freshmen on the court.
Wow.
Balling out. So it's exciting for us. If I had to give you some names, Kaylin Hines, middle blocker, sophomore, is going to be phenomenal. She hit a 600 yesterday.
Against South Carolina State?
Yes. And she hit a 400 against Louisiana Monroe.
Okay.
Good Lord. We hit as a team in the like a 240 yesterday against Louisiana Monroe, and we hit a 305 last night against South Carolina State. It's going to be exciting today because Nicholls State is 2-0 and we're 2-0. So it's going to be the showdown today at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right, and folks, as you see, Coach AJ Johnson has joined us, who's also a former volleyball coach here in the HBCU sphere. She's been with Clark and Dillard, and she actually did men's volleyball at Morehouse for a minute, correct?
I helped at Morehouse for a little bit, yeah. And my brother took over that program.
Okay,
that's awesome.
So Coach AJ, do you have any questions for Coach White that you want to jump in, or do you want to ask? You talked about the first couple that we had on that list, so.
Yes. So first of all, congratulations on your first wins of the season. It's always great to start off that way. I love to see that your schedule is including higher Division I ranked teams in these preseason things, because I felt like as a former HBCU volleyball coach, it was kind of hard to get those one, get the matches, and then two, have administration sign off on those because they may have felt that it was not where we should be. But like you said, HBCU volleyball is here to stay. And I feel like programs like yourself, then you have Brittany Williams with Bethune-Cookman, you have Danica Sutton over at Tennessee State. You guys have really been in your programs for a long time. And I think that's an opportunity to set a standard, recruit these girls so that when we get into that PWI atmosphere in the postseason, that as an HBCU, like world in general, we can get into the postseason. And that's one thing that I've been waiting to see as a former college volleyball player for PWI. I've been wanting to see an HBCU program in the Elite Eight, in the NCAA tournament.
That's definitely a goal of ours. And that's a goal of Howard. Howard is the standard. And I want to say about Brittany split yesterday and she went 5 with Portland at home.
I know. I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yesterday. And so I watch my colleagues. We text, way to go, way to get it. There's a lot of camaraderie among us as coaches at HBCUs.
Right.
Well, that's great to hear. And, I've been talking to Coach AG and Coach Penny. I told you yesterday, one of the things that we are working on here at the network is our all-star game this year. So you guys can look for an HBCU volleyball all-star game coming up towards the end of the season. And we're going to celebrate it. That is part of our She Has Now initiative. And we are definitely going to be out there. Coach, how much more time? You got about another 5 to 7 minutes?
I'm good.
Okay, well, so listen, let's do this. I want to pull up, and since you guys are mentioning some of the other teams and things, let's go ahead and take a look. I'm going to bring in the graphic here that talks about the predicted order of finishes for the season in the 5 conferences.
You believe that?
They're always proven wrong. That's what happened with Tennessee State. They were ranked the bottom in the OVC. Then they won the OVC.
They won the OVC. Do you believe predictions? Really? Yeah. All that is a motivator for coaches.
That, you know what? You're absolutely right. So here, let's go ahead and put these up, and we're going to start off. Now, we're going to start with the SWAC, even though it's over on the right-hand side. We're going to start because we got Coach Penny here. We want to see a little something now because that Hornet down there in the middle of the pack, they have JSU at the top, looking at FAMU finishing second, and then the Hornets are set to do third. Prairie View and A&M are rounding out the situation. So, Coach, I'm gonna ask you, as I'm gonna call it, your slightly unbiased opinion on how you think this thing is gonna go and what you guys are looking at doing.
Even when they predicted us first, I never look at preseason picks. Never. Because you don't set the standard. I am the standard, and no pun intended. No pun intended.
There it is.
Whether we're first, whether we're last, no pun intended. My standard is always a standard of excellence. I don't look at someone else's opinion because it doesn't matter. It only matters what my team and my girls, my women think about themselves and what they choose they want to be in preseason and how we design an action plan to get there.
Okay. Listen, we like that. So one of the things that we're actually going to be doing as a network, we've been doing national champions or presenting national champions and all the other sports. This year is our year to start with the volleyball. Now, we don't do a poll. So just to make sure everybody understands it, ours is not a voting poll. It is a computer algorithm that goes through and takes all of the stuff into it, which is one of the reasons this is taking a little bit longer because it's a whole lot of information we have to put in for volleyball. But you all will be doing it. We will be doing that. One of the things about our poll is that's why we don't do preseason. Our poll does not start until the 4th or 5th week of the season is when we kick it in once they've had an opportunity to get some things going and just kind of moving along.
That's realistic. That's more realistic.
Yeah. You can't, listen, when you add the human element in it, there's always going to inherently be bias and all of those things. So, So we try to take that out of it. And listen, we've had some controversy over the last few years with some of our polls, but we say, hey, listen, the numbers don't lie, as they say. So we're getting it in. But Coach, let's do this. I know you want to get ready, and I know you got some things going on. What do you want to say to the HBCU landscape about volleyball? Because you already talked about how the volleyball is growing and what it's doing. Right. You know, like I said, we're going to do our part, because we've said for a long time that there are some areas that we can already compete in if we put the resources and do the things that we need to do. But talk to us a little bit about that.
I want to implore everybody and encourage everybody to get out and support our Black Girl Magic. Support our Black young women that is playing volleyball, basketball, all sports, just because the playing field, Coach, you tell me, Coach Johnson, tell me if you agree, is finally starting to level off.
Yes.
You look at the Olympians, you can look at the PWIs, they're thriving because of our young Black women.
Come on now.
Because of our young Black women.
Yes.
But the added ingredient is, now that the playing field is starting to level off, and your HBCUs are getting those stars that want that home experience, they're going to be in trouble. You think we're playing them now, and the way we're showing up already this season, that's when it's going to be a bigger struggle to get them to play us next year. The good thing is, we that's been around a long time, and they're going to need the RPI ranking. They're going to want to play us. I've always played Power Fives in my preseason because it really does prepare me for the SWAC season, with the intention of going into postseason, that we don't have a culture shock or being shocked when we play one of those schools. But when I tell you, you look across the board, if we can get more support in supporting our Black women and investing in club volleyball, the correct club programs that's going to promote our women and grow our women and train our women to go to the next level. Not that it's a money grab, but that you are truly invested in training them to go to the next level. And they need to go to people like Coach Johnson and some people and say, hey, is this a good club for my daughter to go to? God knows I'm telling the truth right now. Or is it just a club just collecting dollars? Because at the end of the day, just like you are paying for your kid to play, you need to invest in who's training them. Don't get me started on that level. The intent is to get our kids from high school to college, so they can graduate with a degree and they can eventually give back as they continue to thrive in America and corporate America. That is the goal. And so I encourage you, parents, get out in the stands, support these Black women that's playing. When you start to put your kids in club volleyball, interview those coaches and that program before you give them $1, and make sure that their goal is to promote your Black child, that they go on and play at the next level.
Correct. I'm going to have to piggyback on what Coach Lucas just said, because I coached in club volleyball for 10 years and then college for 5. And what I have seen and what had happened to me is, as soon as we walk into the gym, we are a middle blocker. It doesn't matter if you have the best setter hands, if you have a defensive platform, if you are 5'8" or taller, you could be the shortest player, but because of your verticality, they will lock you in the middle. And as a college coach, it breaks my heart, because I would want to recruit all these girls, but I don't need all these hitters. And these clubs are not diversifying the positions for minority players. We are, if you look across, even if you look at your Power 5 teams, where are we at? Where was I at? And that really makes it hard for HBCUs to recruit strong recruits, because we'll have an awesome offense, but a lot of times we will falter defensively. We will falter in our setters, in our specialized positions. So parents, don't just go to clubs because they said, oh, this is the best club in the city. It may not be the best club for you. The best club for you may be that club that runs out of the Park District with a woman who used to play college volleyball, who will train you in all the foundational skills. And that's where I feel like we need, it's not just the investment, but it is the lack of knowledge. We are ignorant to the sport of volleyball still. I was in college between 2006 and 2010, and it was a Black club director who pulled me from the basketball court, taught me how to pass, taught me how to set, and told me where my opportunity was. And it really is, you know, my eyes fill with water when I go into these big qualifiers, probably you too, Coach Lucas, because there's more Black players.
Yes.
You don't just see a sparkle of us, because I don't know if our money is growing and we're able to access club volleyball more efficiently now. Yeah. I had to use my church donations to play for club, but now we have Jalen Rose's daughter playing. We have all these NFL and NBA fathers and mothers putting their children in club volleyball, which is why I feel now we're there. And now that we're here and we're showing that we can compete and we can be trained well, now we have to diversify our position, because now you have all these players fighting for 3 to 4 positions on a roster.
I said, and we have to be more strategic. So I want to encourage you to come out and watch my team, because just like Coach Johnson said, they put us in the middle. I was an undersized middle. So I run a middle hitter dominant offense for that reason. For that reason. Because they put your kid in the middle, because you don't have to train it. Just run over there and block. Just go block, because you're fast enough. You're faster than all my other kids. So, and they're very compact, so they can't mess up the transition or the rally. But like my daughter was 5'7", and they put her in the middle when I first got here in Alabama, and that's why I started my own club. Because my kid was going to play outside, and she was going to be a 6 rotation player.
Come on.
And that's what she ended up doing. She played at MSU Denver, top 25, All-American, and then she went on to play her COVID year at UNC Greensboro, All-American, put that team on her back, and won their first regular season championship. So let me be clear, parents, it's bigger than volleyball. You see, you hear our passion, because it's always bigger than volleyball. We want what's best for our Black women. And so we want to be strategic when you walk in these gyms. We're not just playing to play. If you're going to pay to play, then you pay to play with the end in mind. And the end in mind is to get her an academic scholarship or an athletic scholarship, so that she can have a good quality of life after it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, I'm going to jump in on this one, and just to let you guys know, we're going to do our part in that, because, like I said, we truly believe the same thing. I'm a girl dad. I have a 11-year-old granddaughter, just had a birthday the other day, and I feel the same way about this stuff. So right now, we're already working on starting a new show that Coach AJ and Michelle Thomas are going to be hosting, where it is all HBCU volleyball that we're going to be talking about every week. Right now, we know it'll be at least once a week. We're going to see if we can expand that. You guys will always have a segment during the BCSN GameTime show. 1/3 of this show will be dedicated to women's sports. So we're in season with volleyball right now, so you all can expect to see a lot more of what we're talking about with HBCU volleyball coming across the board. Any of you who are in that Alabama area, Montgomery area, get down there to the Acadome today. If you're in Atlanta, you don't have anything to do. If your team isn't playing, going down to the Acadome, support. Alabama State is playing, but like I said, there are 3 other HBCUs that are in the mix as well. Go down and support
Carolina State as well here.
Yeah, we need you all to start going to these matches, getting engaged with it. Again, get back to your athletic directors. Call them, be like, hey, all these deals y'all are doing with basketball and football being seen, we need somebody that's going to show volleyball. And trust me, they can't tell you that nobody wants to do it, because we always do it. So we're going to continue to go and keep it going. Coach, we want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your morning. I know you're getting ready to get yourself set for the
good luck today, Coach.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck. Coach AJ, we're going to get you to hold on. Folks, we're going to take our first break of the day, come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on in the HBCU volleyball landscape. So, Coach Penny, you have a great day. Good luck.
Okay,
look, we need you to roll out 3-0 today, Coach. We want that 3-0. So you go get it. All right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We'll be back right after this break.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money, so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero at a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle.
Mr. This script got a plot twist at a Radisson hotel.
A business big leaguer.
Go for key.
Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true. Gotta get the corners.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KeaversVoice.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield. Never not working.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome back to the BCSN GameTime Show. It's week 1. Things are getting hot and heavy. The HBCU sports season is going all in. I got Coach AJ here with me, and we're going to get into some of this. Now, listen, we know that the preseason, Coach gave us that coach pep talk.
He did. I feel her on that. I feel her. I feel the same way.
But, we are sports commentators. That's what we do. So, those things are where we get some of our conversation from. So we are going to jump into that. And Walter, go Mob and Blue 5 to you, my brother. Appreciate you tuning in and checking us out. CIAA is in the building. They say CIAA for life. So let's get back to the to these preseason rankings, Coach, and talk about some of this stuff. So as we look at it this time, we'll start with the CIAA. We got Shaw picked to finish first, Elizabeth City, Fayetteville State, Winston-Salem, and Bluefield. Mm-hmm. Now, as these schools get in there, we're looking at a lot of different things. So, we've talked about it, Coach, that there is so much talent. And, Coach Penny just echoed it. There's so much talent out there at the HBCU level now. And the things are happening, and a lot of these young ladies are coming home and playing. Let's talk a little bit more about what you think, and if you have any specific insights you want to give on what you think about the CIAA, we'll go from there.
Well, of course, Shaw has performed consistently, which is why they have that preseason ranking. However, there are some incoming freshmen in the CIAA that we really have to pay attention to, more so Virginia State. I know a couple, Denver Watkins out of Atlanta is a new freshman there, and she did phenomenal for A5, which is one of the top clubs in the country, and she's coming in there as a freshman. I'm really excited to see how they utilize her as an outside. She's one of those 6 rotation outside hitters Coach White was talking about, and she's played with a lot of her teammates went to PWIs. So what we're starting to see are these girls choosing HBCUs who came from clubs where they were the minority on their team, playing with girls that were recruited and going to these Power 5 PWIs, and she kept up with them there. So in this HBCU realm, it's going to be very interesting to see how these incoming freshmen show out. And just like Coach White said, she was like, I had 4 freshmen and they were balling out. If you look at those 4 freshmen, those are solid club girls. They came from strong clubs. They came from strong teams. Back when I was playing in like 2 decades ago, we weren't in those big clubs. We weren't like the teammates I played with. I was the only one to go to college. So my training prior to entering the college level was inadequate compared to my peers. However, what wasn't inadequate about myself was my athletic ability. I was fast. I was jumping out the gym. I did things that you can't teach. And what we're seeing now are players that have these same athletic abilities on top of being trained and actually having form and knowing what they're doing out there skill-wise. And so I'm excited to see what Virginia State does. And Elizabeth City, they did really well. I want to say, what was that, 2 seasons ago? And then I feel like that team they graduated a lot. Some people transferred because they won the CIAA.
Right.
Yeah. And so, they're also building. The top 4, I feel, are very steady. Winston-Salem has been going through coaching changes 2 years ago, and I feel like she's finally getting into the groove. They have a star outside who I feel like does the majority of their production in Winston-Salem's issues. So if she went and recruited someone to help her, Winston-Salem could also be someone that we talk about in the CIAA.
Okay, cool. So next we're going to move over to the MEAC. Now you guys were talking about Howard.
Yes.
Who at the top of the rung in the MEAC. Then you've got Coppin State, Delaware State, Maryland Eastern Shores, and Norfolk State. But talk to me a little bit about this Howard team. Let the folks know what is so special and what has Howard been over there doing?
So Howard has been running the mission that me and Coach White were talking about for years now. They have acquired players that decommitted from Power 5 PWIs that wanted the HBCU experience, and so they came over to Howard. My question right now is, why haven't we progressed? I want to say 3 or 4 seasons ago, they attracted big players that were decommitting from Power 5 PWIs, but for some reason in that Division I territory, it's like as soon as they get close, it's what me and Coach White were talking about happens, right? You have girls that played top tier club volleyball. Their parents probably played volleyball. Not only are they skilled, but in these Power 5 D1s, they're also taller and skilled and athletic. And you have minority players who are great, but we're just not there yet. So the question is, how do we get, or what is the recipe for a Division I HBCU program to beat Wyoming, California, UCLA, Texas? Like, what does that need to look like? And like Coach White was saying, if you look at these Power 5s, the production out of these PWI Division I volleyball programs is on the shoulders of their Black players a lot of the times. So the question is, how do we get players like that into Howard instead of Texas? Because that's what we're fighting against right now. It ends up being the battle of us versus us, and one is at a PWI and one is at a HBCU. And so that's only time will tell. I'm interested to see how that all pans out. But that's what's going on at Howard. Like, they're getting the best Black recruits, I feel, but we just can't. Like, what is it? What are we missing? What's going on?
Look, football and basketball are not the only sports that NIL will work in. So what we need to start doing is making sure that we start getting some of these NIL conversations centered around these volleyball things. And so getting it in. Next, we're going to take a look at the newly renamed HBCU Athletic Conference. You are a former coach in this conference, used to be the GCAC. We've got Talladega at the top, Fisk, Dillard third, Philander Smith fourth, and Oakwood University, picked to finish fifth. Now, we know you know a little bit about definitely one of these teams, but tell us what you know. We know you know this conference a little bit more.
Honestly, I feel like that preseason ranking is correct right now. Coach Spurgeon at Talladega has immediately as she got there created a culture. Her team is very aggressive. They're very in your face. They are much so very athletic. They are very scrappy. I hated playing against them. You know what I'm saying? It made my pit sweat because it's like she recruited dogs. She recruited girls that go out there. You talking about she got some LSU girls. She got some Angel Reese type players on her team that go hard in the paint all the time. And when they're down, sometimes they have something here where they can just dig themselves out and just forge forward every single time. They are relentless. I'm not sure how she recruited this year. Honestly, in that conference, if she did not pick up anyone, I still feel that she has that number one spot. Fisk at 2, I don't know. I feel like Dillard could be that number 2 in the preseason ranking. Fisk lost their senior middle blocker who produced the majority of their points. Again, I'm not sure on. We're still in preseason, so I'm interested to see how Coach Jess has filled in that position and how they will fare that way. And Dillard, they can do it. If they get the consistency, they run their offense how they're supposed to. The difference for me between the Dillard Talladega mix is the heart. Like sometimes Dillard will be playing and they will get down and they would stay down and then they will come up, but then it will be too late. You know, like it's too late in the game for that. So I'm interested to see what this HBCU Athletic Conference looks like over the course of the season.
All right, cool. Next, we have the SIAC. Spring Hill is picked at the top. Albany State, Miles, Edward Waters, and Clark Atlanta. Again, programs that you've had some contact with, Coach.
Yeah, just a little bit. I need somebody to beat Spring Hill, period. I need them to beat Spring Hill. Spring Hill has been reigning in the SIAC for way too long. I don't know. Someone at some point, the other teams of the conference have to find a way to study this team, figure out why they're so successful, and specifically recruit, train, and set their schedules up to play teams similar to Spring Hill so that in the postseason, someone else can be the conference champion and have that opportunity to go to the NCAA Division II postseason. Albany State, they, for me, I feel have really great players. Coach Graham has been there for a while. She runs a great program. I just think she just has to get she's been getting the pieces together. She had some great freshmen last season. Now they'll be sophomores. They're more seasoned. I'm interested to see how that goes. Edward Waters, do not sleep. Coach Lauren, they're my friends. I don't even know their name. They're going to be mad. Anyway, the head coach of Edward Waters was the HBCU Female Coach of the Year. She does well with men's and women's programs. She literally just got out the previous coaches' players, and she's been recruiting the types of players that she wants. And then she has some that are still there, like Fatima, who was a preseason ranking. She's an amazing outside hitter, can't ever really be stopped. I don't know if they're still recruiting internationals or if she got more USA girls. But I feel like the Edward Waters is a little too low for me. I'm not sure why they're there. But yeah, it's going to be a fight.
And that is Coach Lauren Ford.
Lauren. I love you, Lauren. Sorry, girl.
And last, again, we're going to take a look at the SWAC and have some more conversation about that. Of course, Jackson State picked to win. Florida A&M picked second. Alabama State picked third. Prairie View A&M is picked fourth, and Alabama A&M is picked fifth. What do you think? Now, these, and I'm going to jump in real quick on this one because these three top teams in that are really a standard for me of what I've seen. Of course, you know, as Coach mentioned, I am a Rattler, and volleyball has been a great tradition at FAMU for years, and we've been doing some different things. But this battle with those three programs, man, in the SWAC has just been amazing. And like, that's one of the things I really think it's a travesty that we're not getting those matches broadcast somewhere.
Right.
We're, that is high level volleyball.
It is. And the SWAC right now for me is a toss up, literal toss up. I don't even think the SWAC should have had a preseason ranking because of how competitive those teams are. I can't even speak on it. It's like, it's anyone's game. The SWAC is open. Like, who wants it more? It's going to be game by game. Like, we're not going to be halfway through the season and be like, oh, it's going to be a surprise up into the very end. And so, like you said, we need some coverage on the SWAC because those games are very exciting, intense, and I wish people could see more of it.
Listen, when Coach was mentioning it, I think right before you came on, she was talking about the fact that their player of the year from Alabama State is now at FAMU. And that's their closest rival right now. And,
I know.
Bethune-Cookman is FAMU's natural rival. That's been our rival for years. But now that we're in the SWAC, that Alabama State FAMU thing is getting so hot that it's getting crazy. And all of those matches that when they play each other, no matter what sport it is, they are going to be hard and heavy. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. We're trying to work on some things. Hopefully we'll be able to get some more of this coverage going and do some stuff. But we're coming to the top of the hour. We're going to take another break. Coach, we've got some more coaches coming in, some more of the guys from the network. If you can hang around, please do, because I want to get your opinion on a couple of other the general topics that we're talking about that involve all of HBCU sports and not just the volleyball, because I know you have an opinion on these. But we're going to do that. So, folks, if you will, stay with us. We're going to take our second break, and we will be right back with more right here on the Black College Sports Network.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
Hey, grab me one too.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember they can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft. Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less? You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the BCSN GameTime Show. We're going to get some more things going as we wait for some of our other prognosticators and folks to come in and talk about some things. Coach, I did want to get into one of the conversations because I'm curious to how it worked in volleyball and other things. I don't know. Did you all do money games in volleyball?
Money games? Oh, so it would be if there's a preseason tournament, like say, for instance, when I was coaching at Clark Atlanta, if like D1, I'm trying to think of a school, like San Angelo State in Texas would have like a PWI tournament. It really wasn't a money game for us, but they would pay for like food, a hotel for us to get there. I haven't had the opportunity to play like a big Power 5, and they'd say, oh, we're going to give you like $20,000 to play us. However, on the men's volleyball side, UCLA has done that for the SIAC.
Right, they do. I was about to say, I know that they have that special thing, and they've been kind of playing different SIAC teams or playing different SIAC teams, so that's definitely something. So, Coach, talk to me a little bit. Let's do this. Let's have a little bit more of a conversation about how the fans can help and support first at the college level with our programs, but then what is it that people want to get into? What are some of the things that they need to try to do on that lower level when you're talking about your high school to get more of our young ladies engaged in these club programs?
Right. And so that's kind of where I have pivoted my career toward for volleyball, because I'm started to realize as a college coach, there is just a lack of proper preparation for college. Like I feel like a lot of times HBCU programs have to, let me say this. I feel like sometimes when we are recruiting, the players that we're recruiting want to go to an HBCU. We have a lot of players we would want, but they do not want to attend an HBCU. So as a coach, you're like, man, I want this group of players. They don't want to go to an HBCU. And out of the group of players that you want, there'll be like a sprinkle of them that could go to like a big D1 PWI that actually want to go to an HBCU. And we're all fighting for those players, right? And then you have your group of athletes who want to play at HBCU. And a lot of times they aren't the premier D1 PWI recruit that they would pick. They're already, lower level. So as the HBCU coach in general, the level of talent is lower. So we get lucky when we get a girl who can jump, she has skill, she can communicate, she's aggressive and all that. And so what we need to do is those that have played college volleyball or are former coaches need to go into the youth sports in the club atmosphere, and not necessarily in a gym, but out on your own and talk to these parents individually. Become a consultant, like put money on your time, like put money on your time and tell these parents, like, I will help guide them properly. And pay someone to do that. Pay someone that looks like you, has the experience that you want your daughter to have. If you want your daughter to go to Division I, if you want her to come out with a degree, if you want her to get an advanced degree, find someone like that and help them coach you through that process. Because a lot of the times you're just out there and you're taking improper steps, and there's time passing during that time, and your child is missing out on opportunities. Similar to what Coach White and I was saying, like when your daughter walks into a gym, they're like, oh my God, we love you. They don't love you. They see that you're athletic, that you can jump, and they need an offense. You need to find a gym that will help develop and train your daughter in every skill, and not tell you, oh, she doesn't need to do that. Oh, well, her hands just aren't that good. Make her hands good. Make her a better passer. A lot of these players are walking into gyms and walking out the same exact athlete, and that's not how it should be. So what we need to do outside of going to these college games, following these teams on Instagram, we need to be making community within ourselves. Like on Facebook, there's a Black Girl Magic volleyball page where parents talk about, hey, they're doing this, they're doing that. And there's a lot of us HBCU coaches in that group, and we're like, hey, that doesn't really sound right. You may want to look this way. But more of that needs to happen. And I feel like it just needs to be out there more, basically.
Okay. Now, we know, if I'm not mistaken, there is a new professional volleyball league here in the States. Is that correct? What do you know about that?
So it's ran by the LOVB volleyball program. And I believe a little bit of Athletes Unlimited. You may have to look that up for me. But I know we have the Atlanta has a team. Houston has a team. They're popping up in different cities. Okay. I'm interested to know, and I've been trying to reach out to people to find out what the financial benefits are for these players. What does that look like? What do the contracts look like? What does the time commitment look like? Can they still have part-time jobs? Like, it's still such a new program that I've literally been just sitting back and just kind of trying to watch it unfold and seeing how they're developing it. So this season I'm interested because they should be on the lookout for their new pick of the crop. But what have seen from this new professional volleyball league is kind of similar to what we see in the college realm. You have a lot of your Black players being only middle blockers. There's not many of us, especially like on the Atlanta team. There's not many, but the girls that are there are phenomenal. So it's like,
really?
Why don't we have more? And that's my question. So I don't want to ask those questions until I give this organization time to grow, get their feet wet. I would love to create some type of pipeline to get similar to what we're trying to do with this HBCU All-Star game. I would love to get them at this All-Star game and get some picks. Like, what does the draft look like? How do these girls know when to try out? Like, how do they know to try out at one state versus another state? Is there a combine for this program? Those are all questions that I have, and I'm interested in finding out.
Well, then that shows me that that's our first point of contact that we need to make as we get ready for this All-Star event this year.
It is.
So to bring that out. And now I think I saw in your bio, and I know in Coach Penny's bio, that she played overseas.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that now, did you play overseas?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, we had that session. Talk to the folks a little bit about, because I don't think very many people understand the fact that even in volleyball, you got players that go out and do this stuff.
It's secret, and it shouldn't be. It's just like club volleyball. Nobody knows about club volleyball until you walk into one of these convention centers during a national qualifier, and you're like, 131 courts. Like, people are flying it. Yeah, it's like volleyball. You think AAU basketball tournaments are big? Go to a national volleyball qualifier. It's a circus. And so the question is, how is something so big we still don't have access to? And it's just information. HBCU Elite, Dr. Tara Turner, she is the owner of that. We spoke about it before, but her mission is to increase HBCU recruitment and communications between players that want to be at HBCUs and HBCU coaches to get them to the college level. That needs to happen for the pros, and we're just not there yet. We need sports agents at these HBCUs for volleyball to say, hey, I have contacts overseas already. This is what you can do. The problem is, and this may be a sore spot for most, is the coaches at these HBCU programs do not have the experience at all. They don't know what it looks like because they didn't go. So how can you really help if you're not privy to the process? And that's just been something I've been trying to counter. As I'll see players, I'm like, man, I got to get you pro. I'll call my connects. They're retired. And it's like, man, who do I talk to? And so in volleyball, as it pertains to getting our Black players at the college and pro level, again, it's ignorance. It's a lack of knowledge. We don't know, or we may know, but somebody is gatekeeping. No one is letting that information out. And that's why at this part in my career, that's what I want to do. So when you call me like, do you want to do this? Yes, because I want to find out how we increase access to volleyball for minorities at every single level. As a doctor of physical therapy, only 2.5% of us are Black. what do I do every time I see a Black person walk crazy? I'm like, what's wrong with your left hip? They're like, dang, how'd you know something was wrong with my left hip? I can stop someone from needing a total hip replacement just by identifying within my community. The issue is we don't have anyone to identify and tell us. And so I'm going to try to fill that void for volleyball. Like that's the plan.
Well, best believe, folks, Coach AJ, Michelle, we are going to amplify everything that they have going on about our programs, our processes, and the things that we can do to get our young ladies even more so engaged in how this thing is going. Because it's, if we don't do it, who is going to do it? And that's the question. And so we just have to stop.
I've been waiting my whole career. I'm like, somebody's going to do it. Somebody's going to do it. Who's going to do it? And we haven't done it yet.
Just need to make a phone call and say, Coach, you're going to do it. So we're going to give you all the tools that you need to make sure it gets done. But again, man, this is something, we kind of took some of this stuff personally. Well, and by we, I mean me. I took some of these things personally, especially as we looked at what we have done in the broadcast space for HBCUs over the past 25 years. And to not be able to do something that no one else is doing is rather frustrating right now. For us not to be able to put these games on that nobody, we would be in Montgomery today. We would have been there yesterday to do these games. We would have been doing Game Time live from the Academy because they have these things. So,
as a coach, it's very frustrating. I played for a Division I school in the early 2000s. We had video to everything. That was 20 years ago. So as a coach, those are my expectations. Like I had this as a player. It's, 2022, 2024. Why don't we have broadcasts here? Why isn't it streamed? Why are texting my phone asking me how they can see their daughters? Because they have to wait for us to go to a school with a streaming person to see them. And it's just a shame. It's hard for us as coaches because that's part of the recruitment. Like what's the buy-in to come here? If your parents, you're far away, we're trying to recruit kids from all over the nation and your parents can't come and watch you play because they can't afford travel. And then they can't even watch you play on the computer because the program is lacking access to media and inconsistent media. And that's just, it was frustrating as a coach. And now on the outside trying to watch the games, it's frustrating. Like I want to see HBCU volleyball.
Yeah. And over the past 3 years, we've done a minimum of 80 volleyball matches, 70, because we had 5 schools under contract and we were doing all of their home games. That's how you and I initially met. We got a call when you were at COU. You had your tournament and you needed some folks to come out. So we were like, we are there, no problem. Yeah, so
I did.
That's the thing. And it's frustrating. We know that everybody knows that football runs everything. Basketball is the next big brother, but we have so many other sports and opportunities that our kids deserve the same type of coverage, the same type of opportunities to be seen. And listen, when they're showing these games, that opens up the door for these leagues to see who these players are.
I was just about to say that me and my friend, we were watching the Chicago Sky play Indiana Fever last night. And, I got kind of teary-eyed looking at the crowd because I remember, because I'm a former basketball player, having my Lisa Leslie jersey, Cheryl Swoops jersey, Cynthia Cooper jersey. And no one liked the WNBA. Like, it wasn't a thing. And it took so long for it to become a thing. And now everybody wants a piece of the pie because they see that it's lucrative. You know what else is lucrative? Black girls playing volleyball. That is lucrative. Like Nike would love to have a minority, like somebody get an NIL deal because we are not present. We're not there. Yeah. And so it's like if you have someone who, has a certain character when they play and they have a certain swag about themselves and they're good for the community, like that just opens up the sport for more and more of us to enter it. And that's my biggest thing. We need access. I remember I was on for the SIAC men's championships with you last season.
Oh, yeah, you did the broadcast with us.
And,
that's right.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about. I was like, they have all these international players in these HBCU programs, and it's not because we don't want to recruit American Black men. They're not here because they don't think, they don't think they have a space here, and they do. Yeah. And it's I watched the NBA, and I'm like, man, if he just played volleyball, Olympic,
Listen, it's funny to say that. So one of the things about me, I love volleyball. I grew up in Palm Beach, not too far from the beach, so I grew up playing volleyball. When I got to FAMU, we actually tried to start a men's volleyball team back in '89.
Wow.
But they just we weren't able to pull enough interest. But like you said, there are a lot of these male basketball players who are marginal basketball players. I mean,
Come on now.
Just to be honest, who would probably be exceptional at playing volleyball, because most of the time they have the athletic skill and the ability. They just don't have it at the level to compete in basketball. But
Correct.
Jumping is a skill. And listen, if you can jump,
Correct.
the 12th guy on the basketball bench normally can jump, and especially at 6'5", 6'8", doing those things.
And it's honestly,
you got to give these guys more options.
Yeah, we have to rewrite where we belong. And it's like, we can't just categorize ourselves in these specific sports. And it's like, like you said, I hate to say it, I was like a mediocre basketball player. Like, I definitely would have went to college, but I was a small forward, probably low-level D1, most likely D2. But volleyball, I was D1 all the way. There was no questions asked, and I was new to the sport. And so in that same way, as Black men enter the sport, it'll change the game. It would be a great way to grab more scholarship money instead of having us fight over basketball and football scholarships. Golf, let's talk about it. Bowling, golf, lacrosse, rugby, play other sports. We have to let our sons play other sports.
All right. Well, Coach AJ, look, I know you got things that you have got to get into today, and I want to thank you for your time. And again, folks, every week we're going to have the She Has Now segments here on the BCSN GameTime show. Stay tuned. Look at Michelle Thomas. I'm sure is going to jump in and join us. We're going to get our girl Sandra Stamps in some to do some things with us, and we're going to have ladies from all across the diaspora, especially the HBCU diaspora, and our Black women talking about their impact and the impact that these sports have had on their lives. Why, folks? Because she has now. So we're definitely going to make sure that she has that microphone and that we amplify her voice and keep it going. So, Coach, before we get out today, is there any? Now, let me ask you this: are you looking at any of the football games today? I know you're trying to find the volleyball, but we know some of this football is going to be on. Are you looking for anything in particular today?
I'm not. I honestly, when it comes to football, you got to find me week 3, week 4. That's when I kind of get. I kind of just dabble a little bit.
I get it, because a lot of this, like I said, these first 3 weeks are usually the check game. Sometimes you get rare opportunities like the Orange Blossom Classic, where you're bringing in actually the 2 teams that are picked to finish first in the MEAC and the SWAC. So to see that, that's going to be a good look. FAMU in their early week competition, they're actually playing South Carolina State, so they'll be doing that. And it's interesting that both of those volleyball teams are over in Montgomery doing their thing. So but we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna be working on some things, folks. We're gonna be putting together. Our goal is to put together some volleyball events that we're gonna make sure that we can get on. Stay tuned. You will be able to watch Payne College volleyball still right here on the Black College Sports Network. So we will be getting in some of that and bringing those matches to you as well. Coach Lucette over there doing her thing, and we're gonna make sure that is amplified. But again, Coach AJ, I want to thank you for your time today. Folks, we are going to take us a break. We're going to come back, and I'm going to do a little pickup from some of the stuff that we got. We got Dr. Cavill, who's going to be joining us, I believe, at the top of the hour from inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So we're going to, between the Sports Lab and the O&G Strike Zone and some of our other programs, we're going to give you a little snippet and tidbits of these guys talking about what they're looking for and what they're going to see this week right here in the HBCU Sports Realms. So, Coach AJ, until next time, You have a
next
good one,
time.
folks. Stay tuned. Stay tuned, folks. And we will be back right here on the Black College Sports Network.
Hey, grab me one too.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU Sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero at a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle.
Mr. This script got a plot twist at a Radisson hotel.
A business big leaguer.
Go for key.
Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true. Got to get the corners.
When you're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
If you think all pads are exactly the same, think again. This is Always Ultra Thins reinvented with the Always Triple Protection System. This pad wicks gushes 90% faster, absorbs even more so you can feel dry, and locks odors in. Rethink your pad for up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort with the totally reinvented Always Ultra Thins. This is always like never before.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him.
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This is Ryan Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
everybody, and welcome back to the BCSN GameTime Show. We are here. It is week 1, and as you see, somebody who's actually in that Montgomery area over there. We just had Coach Penny Lucas White on talking about it. We got our man AD Drew in the building. AD, how you doing this morning, man?
In the Montgomery area, man, I am in the Acadome right now.
Yeah, he is there watching. One of the few people getting to see all of this great volleyball that's happening going on. Drew, why don't you do this? Give us a quick update about some of the stuff that you saw yesterday, what you got looking forward to today on that before we jump into some of this football conversation.
Alabama State enters today. They are 2-0 in the tournament, having defeated McNeese State yesterday and having defeated South Carolina State. The McNeese contest was a 3-1 victory for Alabama State, and they swept South Carolina State 3-0. Today, they will play Nicholls State. That's at 2 o'clock Central Time, 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Also had a chance last week, Roy. I saw Florida A&M in their exhibition game against the University of Florida. And hitters, just quick comparison to 3 HBCUs that I have seen thus far this year. We're 1 week into the season.
All right, it looks like Drew may be having a few issues over there in the Acadome. Hold on, there he is. Let's jump back in here.
All right. Can you hear me now? Where did I drop off
at? Talking about the Florida A&M and what happened at University of Florida.
Okay, they played West Florida on last week in the exhibition. It was West Florida, one of the better teams in Division II volleyball. They actually West Florida defeated them straight up. Florida A&M was using this as an opportunity to get some different combinations in and to let some girls play who may not see a whole lot of time during the regular season. Compared to 3 HBCUs that I have seen thus far this season, we'll start off with Florida A&M. The question about Florida A&M is going to be who's going to set up those great outside hitters they got. FAMU has some tremendous outside hitters. Have a good middle blocker, but the center position I think is a little unstable down there in Tallahassee. That's going to be the key to them having success and potentially winning the SWAC East or the SWAC Conference title. Looking at Alabama State. Alabama State looks pretty good. Great pair of setters, excellent liberos there, great outside hitters. Just like a lot of our teams, middle blockers are sometimes a little suspect, especially at this time of the season. Back row defense could be a little bit of opportunity for Alabama State. And Carolina State, who's coached by Coach Melissa Page. Page, she's been at, she started off at Tuskegee. I believe she was at Grambling or Alcorn. I can't remember which one, but she was at the SWAC school last year. And then, and now she's at South Carolina State. First season over there. So she's a lot of building to do, has a lot of potential talent. They're definitely going to be looking up in the BCSN conference.
All righty. Well, there you go, folks. Drew's giving his as he is live there in the Acadome in Montgomery on the campus of Alabama State University. Drew, we know that you're going to be here in Miami Gardens tomorrow. You and Brian are going to be doing the audio call for our broadcast of the Orange Blossom Classic, bringing the top-ranked or preseason top-ranked Alabama State Hornets to face off against the top-ranked MEAC North Carolina Central Eagles. Now, what do you see and happening, or what do you think folks really have to look forward to for that game?
Whose offense figures it out first? You're looking at North Carolina Central team that's saw Davis Richard and Mookie Collier leave due to natural matriculation as they've exhausted their eligibility. And then you look at an Alabama State team whose biggest issue has always been the passing game. So whose offense is going to figure it out first? Because both teams have been good traditionally defensively. Alabama State probably traditionally has a little bit of a better bit of a style and which offense is going to click first. Or let's flip it, Roy. We see something like we saw in OBC years ago, and just an all-out ugly slush with 6-7 score. The offense figure. Who knows?
All righty. Well, listen, that's going to be, folks. So you heard me mention it. Make sure you're tuned in. We will be going live with our pregame show right about 2 o'clock. Game time is 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be live with our pregame at 2 p.m. Eastern, so you'll be able to get in, check out. We should have some interviews with some coaches, some dignitaries from the OBC doing things. We will be doing a video pregame show, and then we will transition into the audio broadcast of our game. So, and again, that'll be Brian Fulford and A.D. Drew on the call, bringing two voices back together again that have been a staple here on the Black College Sports Network and giving you those opportunities to see things. So, Drew, listen, we're going to do this. I know you're getting ready.
I got to say this. You're going to need the Red Bull and coffee ready for both me and Brian because, you know, I'm in Montgomery and I've got to make that ride from Montgomery down to South Florida sometime between maybe about 5 o'clock Eastern time this evening to be ready for a noon, be ready at noon tomorrow down there in Miami Gardens, Florida. So somewhere in there, I've got to make this ride and get some sleep. So please have the Red Bulls and shameless, unofficial sponsor, so I'm not going to say it again, and somebody's coffee.
We'll have you covered, man. We'll make sure you guys are taken care of and ready to go. And then be ready afterwards to either get you some rest like normal people or get out there and try to party like Rattlers and other folks from HBCUs do on a regular basis. So we're going to let you go, man. We know you got, it looks like you got a little bit of connection issue, but we're going to jump in here, folks, and we're going to take, before the Dean makes his way into the Game Time show, we're going to take us a quick look back at this past Thursday during the Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. In this particular show, he had Kendrick Lewis. I believe Kendrick's last name. I'm sorry, I can't remember. Kendrick Lewis or Kendrick Thomas? It is Kendrick Lewis. Drew. Okay, well, also we had Brian Fulford in there, and of course Charles Bishop was a part of that show, and they were having some different conversations. So we're going to go ahead and take a little time and let you guys enjoy that conversation. And we will stand by as we get ready for it. But this is your little cheat sheet and your cheat notes for the Dean making his way in at the top of the hour.
Quentin Gray. They are one of the few teams in the SIAC that did not have a lot of changeover as far as the transfer portal. And so I think for the conference as a whole, continuity is going to play a big role in this conference, especially early on. And so especially when you start talking about going against Valdosta State, they were very competitive against Valdosta State last season. And I think Quentin Gray has finally got his offensive scheme installed at Albany State. So I'm looking for them to be competitive and can actually get that game. And if we get that game against Valdosta State, I think we'll be in prime position the way some other things play out to at least get two teams in the Division II playoffs. So I'm looking forward to that one.
I like the way you think in terms of these non-conference matchups and how this may affect playoffs. You're already looking at the playoff in terms of how important it is for the CIAA and SIAC that you point out. I have Albany State coming in the season ranked 11th. I believe when I didn't have them top 7, you thought they should have been a little further, particularly when you talk about some of those teams maybe being pushed off the top 7. So I'm intrigued about you saying check out that game. I'm going to stick with you because I promised I would give you that a third SIAC, and I'd be remiss if I didn't give you a guest shot, bringing you on the show, not giving you a full opportunity to give love to your third SIA team. Go ahead and talk about who you breaking down there.
That Miles College
like
West
that.
Alabama game. Yeah, that Miles College West Alabama game, in my opinion, Miles College is the best team in the SIAC. I think they are one of the best in Division II football. And it starts with them going down to handle business at a very mediocre at best West Alabama. And it's like when you get to talking about these out of conference games, this game is big for a couple of reasons. And this is kind of going to what you said earlier about why I'm not so high on the CIAA and SIAC matchups. I also follow a lot of SIAC schools on the recruiting trail. And when you start talking about teams that you go against with recruiting guys, Miles and West Alabama are recruiting for Alabama talent. Tuskegee and West Alabama recruiting for Alabama talent. The Fort Valleys and Albany States, they're in Savannah State, they're recruiting against the Valdosta States and usually the West Georgia, but West Georgia is now Division I. You're recruiting for the same type of guys. You're not in a recruiting battle. Miles is not in a recruiting battle with Virginia State for guys. And so it's for me to win those games. You're winning in-state games, and you're also winning for the recruiting trail. So these games are really big, in my opinion, as well as playoff implications. And especially with the CIAA no longer being in Super Region 7, I think we should line up more against teams that because regional play plays into the calculations of the playoffs. So I think those games have far more advantages than the SIAC CIAA matchup, even though people claim to want to see it.
Man, I like your rationale. And you are really even killed, because I told and opened this up talking about how the CIAA and SIAC matchups are not looked at the same way maybe many folks that follow SWAC and MEAC. So that's a very good example, because I'm looking at here with your own school, Tuskegee, that I come in ranked number 8, while I had Miles in that matchup at number 5. They face Johnson C. Smith. I have them at 22, but many people have them higher than that the way they finished. But your own school, obviously you're going to watch the game and check it out, but it's not necessarily one that you're focused on because of all the other frameworks. With the playoffs being where the CIAA and SIAC have their focus, it's important for me to understand as an HBCU fan why the focus is for those HBCU fans that are the SIAC and CIAA, which is totally different in a lot of ways from SWAC and MEAC. So perspective, I think, is important to share when we start cultural analysis of these various conferences, particularly in football. So let me go to you, Brian. You've been steady, Eddie. And so let me go with your next 2 matchups. What are your top 2 matchups that you have looking, and what direction you're going, and why do these come in basically number 2 and 3 on your top 3 list for football games that you got to make sure that you're looking, if not watching directly, traveling to, you have on your phone in terms of getting updates or trying to do a cheat code and watching on your digital platform.
Right. Well, look, I'm first off, I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing so far tonight from our HBCUs. Kendrick just talked about Central State. Howard is representing it, and they're not too shabby. And heck, North Carolina A&T in a tie ball game right now. I mean, I just watched them go, 80 yards in 11 plays against Wake Forest. So I mean, I'm excited. And one of the games tonight that I'm really excited about is UAPB and Arkansas. And there's a particular angle this game is why I'm excited. And I kind of tweeted this out earlier, so if anybody follows me, you know what I'm talking about. But Arkansas Pine Bluff is a 50 and a half point underdog, and the total is 59. Now, this is an in-state matchup.
All right.
I don't believe that Arkansas is going to embarrass UAPB by, let me see, how many touchdowns is that? That is, let's see, 7. That's I'm doing the math here. Is that 7?
56.
Yeah, well, so that's 8. So I don't think they're going to put up 8 touchdowns. 8 touchdowns better
than UAPB. They may beat them by 6 touchdowns, might even get to close to 7, maybe 6 and a field goal. But 50 is a lot. 50 is a lot for an in-state. And all the hype that UAPB, Coach Hampton, I mean, a lot of folks were buying into what they were talking about in SWAC Media Day, right? I don't believe in year 2 that you're going to come out the box and get beat by 50, maybe by 40 something, but not by 50. So with that said, that 50 and a half is a real number. And I like the over because I think UAPB can score at least 2 touchdowns. And if they score 2 touchdowns and lose by 40, you're going to cover the 59 and a half. So I think both are in play. So if you're looking for a quick bet tonight, I think it may have already started. UAPB plus 50 and then the over 59. And then on Saturday, the game, my other game is I'm interested in Hampton and Morgan State. I know Charles already talked about the FAMU South Carolina State, and yes, of course, I'm all into that game. But I'm interested in Hampton and Morgan State, man. Hampton, the best quarterback that we are not talking about in CU football. That might be the best running back, but I'm saying the best quarterback, QB, might be Chris Zealous of Hampton. He was one of my guys last year, and I'm looking for him to get off to a great start against that very tough Morgan State defense and or what we expect to be a tough defense. But I think the 1-2 combination of Zealous and Burris, I think that's going to be fun to watch in the first month of the season. And I don't know if it's sustainable when they get to CAA play. But if Zealous stays healthy, which he was not healthy in the middle part of the season, if he stays healthy, he gives Hampton a chance at a plus 500 record overall, maybe 7 wins or so, maybe even tease 8, But that's the game I'm looking for. And then, of course, on the other side, everybody's excited about Morgan State. Everybody wants to crown Morgan State as the next big thing. Okay. Show me what you look like on offense.
You gotta show me some offense.
Exactly. Show me what you look like on offense before I get really excited, because I expect the defense to do what it's gonna do. But I gotta see the offense. So that's the other game that I'm intrigued by. And I think it's at Hampton, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it's at Hampton.
Yeah, it's at Hampton.
Okay, so should be a good matchup. Should be the Hampton folks. They only turn up for the HBCU game, so they should show up for this one.
Man, Silas Edward McMorris is already looking at conference churning in week 1 and week 0 for week 2 when he's talking about ASU. Should it be prior away? So interesting. And the SIAC, so I believe he's talking about Albany State since 1969. That's fascinating in terms of what that looks like. So, Charles, let you close it down in terms of this segment. What is your final game that you have on your radar for this weekend?
Yeah, well, obviously, I mentioned it Tuesday, and Brian, to kind of follow back up on what you were saying in terms of the line has come down on the Jackson State ULM from 7.5 to 6.5. So, what is it that Lefty and Swifty are telling me out there in Vegas about this game? So that now I'm a little intrigued. I'm pretty intrigued. Like and I mentioned Tuesday, I think Jackson State has some toys, especially with regards to running backs, and if they can control the clock and get some stops on defense, that game becomes extremely interesting when we talk about this matchup. And talent-wise, when Jackson State played ULM a couple of years ago, there was no difference. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams have either progressed or regressed in 2 years.
Sterling, with that being said, I'm going to give a little bit of Stephen Gaither some love when you talked about A&T out there. He's actually at that game in Wake Forest. Called him earlier before the show to check that out. So I'm going to give him a little love with his Winston State Rams. Number 15, they are hosting Bluefield State. Interesting that. And then I'm going to take my own privilege and while the CIAA and SIAC doesn't do this. The marketing person in me wants to do this. So I'm going to look at this Virginia Union and Kentucky State, particularly in a couple of weeks ago. Hook said that Kentucky State was going to have the upset of the year in week 0 against number 1 ranked Virginia Union. I got Kentucky State ranked number 16. So I want to throw that out there to make sure he knew I was listening. And then obviously you have another CIAA SIAC matchup with Virginia State and Benedict. I have that as a top 10 matchup, number 2 Virginia State, number 6 Benedict. We're going to quickly find out what has taken place at Benedict, and if everybody thinks that Virginia State is the real deal, is that going to take place? And obviously, you have that matchup I told you about, Johnson Smith and Tuskegee. So I'm fascinated what that looks like. With that being said, one final thing in this segment. Shout out to Brandon King, but I'm going to have to tell him to talk with you, Brian, to make sure he starts understanding the importance of giving when he gives a prediction that he has to give the point right now. He did a nice article. You know what I'm talking about, y'all. You can go to sneakershop.com, sneakershoptalk.com. He previews and provides a prediction for the 25th John Merritt Classic, Tennessee State and Mississippi Valley State. Now, a lot of folks are joking about Mississippi Valley State. This was only a 7-point game last year. Last time they played, I should say, 6 points, 26-20 in terms of that matchup. And I'm fascinated with all the things that took place at Valley and excitement, what they have down there. This is a chance for them to make a statement. Obviously, the biggest statement is to win the game. This is another SWAC matchup versus Tennessee State, as they have a couple of games on there with Pine Bluff early. Many people see those two teams probably near the bottom, if not the bottom of the SWAC. They can find a way to make a statement. What does that mean for the SWAC and just general in terms of the HBCU landscape and to some degree the FCS? So I'm fascinated to see what happens here. He does pick Tennessee State to come out of this, but he doesn't give any points, Brian. So give him a call and show this man how to make sure that he understands. When you're in this business, you got to give not only the predicted outcome of the game, but you need to do that based on the score. With that, let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side and get into a little discussion. I want to talk about this newly announced HBCU tournament. I want to see what these guys think about this tournament. Stick with us after our last break. We'll come back on the other side, maybe give you an update or two, see if teams are still in the weather today or if these HBCUs are still playing some tremendous football. We'll give you some of that updates right on the other side before we get into some talk on the inaugural Black College Invitational Championship and see what these gentlemen have on their mind about this announcement. Stick with us after this break. We'll come back on the other side.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero in a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle.
Mr. This script got a plot twist at a Radisson hotel.
A business big leaguer.
Go for key.
Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true. Got to get the corners.
Human Voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Cover's Voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Cover's Voice, Cover's Voice, CoversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentjax.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head and Shoulder Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head and Shoulder Scalp Shield. Never not working.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Three takeaways from what you saw from the offense.
I feel like we have a really good O-line. I feel like we have a really good quarterback. And I feel like all the designated role players will play their roles the best. And my final point is Joe Henry is a great play caller. Because it wasn't many bad plays. We gave up 0 sacks. Didn't turn the ball over from the quarterback. Didn't really put it in like a chance to have it turned over. We got a good wide receiver one. Got good tight ends. You know, I feel like the offense is gonna be great. Like everybody's trying to figure out why we started slow. I guess a little bit. I mean, it's a new play caller. All those guys were used to a different style of how things used to be called. I mean, Moose was more of a drop back quarterback, so it was more of a drop back game, quick game. D. Rich is a RPO type of guy. He's a dual threat. But he's not your like typical dual threat. He's a get it done dual threat. It's not like he's gonna run for like 100 and some yards. He'll probably get 30, 40 yards a game because he's gonna take what you give him. Yeah, offense look good though.
Nice. What you got, Kelvin?
So Nick, I'm assuming you didn't have you weren't able to attend. Were you able to attend the game in Atlanta?
I didn't go to the game. I'm gonna go to the game this weekend.
Okay, you'll be in South Carolina State.
I'll be in Brad. Yeah, I'll be in Brad.
Okay.
Only games I'm traveling to, I'm gonna go to Jackson and I'm gonna go to the Classic. I'm gonna go to Jackson though.
You taking security with you on that?
Oh, they waiting on you in Jackson.
I'm gonna go to me and Kamari are gonna go. Me and Kamari are gonna drive down.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Okay. All right. So Nick, kind of tell us about what's going on. I know you was talking about teaching and some stuff. What's going on with you right now?
Right now I am a sub full-time for Leon County, but I'm praying. I had an interview with like a bigger coaching job. I'm trying to see how that goes. Possibly moving from Tallahassee. So I'm trying to see how all that goes right now. And I'm still training for the UFL. I'm waiting for all their process and everything to get done so I can get into that and get it moving. But other than that, I've been just staying in shape, working out, taking jobs as they come.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Thanks for coming back on the show, Coach Nick. In terms of how things started out for FAMU for this past Saturday, do you think more was a feeling out of our own personnel or what Norfolk was doing, or a combination of both?
I mean, I know up front, I know on defense, I know for a fact on defense because I already talked to some people. They set the front wrong a lot of times. I mean, Eric Horn is the older guy in the linebacker room, but he doesn't play Mike. He plays Will Backer. So we're getting a new Mike in. We got a kid from Mississippi Valley. He's pretty good. My bet would be on Nayron Jenkins. I've always loved Nayron. People slight Nayron because he may not look like the type of linebacker you want because he's a walk-on, but Nayron knows football and he knows the defense. Nayron is always going to be in position. It's whether if he makes the play, and I always feel like Nayron will make the play. So we got Nayron in, and a lot of communication was going a different way, going a lot better. I mean, it's a new defense. We got a new DC, so I expect that it'll be some mess ups a little bit there. We got a kid playing corner for the first time in his career. He's usually an in-the-box nickel safety, Jamil Sanders. He gave up 2 big ones. Other than that, you didn't really see him giving up anything besides 2 big ones. I feel like everybody had to get back playing football, and I feel like they had to get used to a new style of play. I mean, we're always gonna play hard, play fast, but it's a new style of play. I mean, I feel like they're asking the secondary to do a little bit more this year. You know, because our returning like vocal points and guys are off the D line. We've always had like just great D line play. Like, every year you could have named all 4 of our D linemen and probably 2 to 3 deep. This year, you can probably name 2 of them, and we got some guys that are trying to fill the role. But I mean, I don't really think it was anything Norfolk was doing. I mean, if you have 2 guys in 1 gap, you're probably wrong. That happened on the long touchdown. We had 2 guys in 1 gap. It happens. If you're a good enough athlete, you should hit your head on the goalpost. You should run all the way down the field. You know, and that it happened a good amount of times. And I mean, I said this on Twitter. I didn't think we was gonna lose because Dawson Odoms was the head coach, and he's never beat FAMU from what I know. So if I was a betting man, I would have just went against them just because of that. You know, they were down their starting quarterback, whoever was supposed to be the presumed starter. And I know Odoms don't like to throw the ball. Like, he's gonna win running the football. He's always tried to win just running the football. When he was at Southern, we had Ladarius Skelton them. He had a quarterback that was a running back, and they tried to run the ball because what was the kid Glendon McDaniel? He was a really good quarterback, but he didn't fit their scheme because he wants a dude that's gonna tuck in and run. I mean, once we assessed that, I mean, Cozy hasn't played Odom, so once he assessed it, I feel like everybody understood what we had to do: fit your right gaps and get the ball down, snap it again. Eric Horn, I always spoke on him. He made the play of the game. I mean, he's a real football. He's a football player. I mean, he's really good. I don't really know what people expected. I don't know why people expected us to just jump off super, super fast. I mean, we got a new starting quarterback, new starting running back, 3 new starting receivers. I mean, the only thing that everything came back in was the O-line room. And you're not going to see a lot of excitement from an O-line room. They blocking. You know, we got a new starting safety, got 2 new starting linebackers, all 4 of our new D linemen, and another. Kendall Bowler is the only person that is a returning starter on the defense. I don't think people understand that. Like, James Ash didn't start last year. Alan Smith didn't start last year. Eric Horn didn't start. Deco Wilson was splitting reps until like the last 2 games. So it's like we have 1 returning starter on defense for real. And people are expecting us to just come out. I mean, and Kendall is a leader by example. He's not like a overly vocal guy. He's gonna speak when he needs to, but it's only so much a corner can do from out wide to stop the run. So, I mean, I just want people to know we just saw a whole bunch of new people kind of like earn their rank a little bit. Like, everybody knew about Jamari Gassett already. So, I mean, he just stepped up where he just took the role of wide receiver 1.
Speaking of Gassett, great question here. Give us your grade on the receivers. Gassett, 8 for 110, 2 touchdowns. Kobe Gross, 3 for 45. Thad Franklin out of the backfield, 3 for 39 and a touchdown. Jalen Rogers, 3 for 28. Jalen Ward, 2 for 26. Carter Johnson, 1 for 22. And then Bo Somerset, 2 for 16.
Just because I know how stuff is supposed to be done, and I hope ACC sees this because he knows I'm big on him, but I'm a big stickler too. I'll give him probably like a C+, B-. It wasn't. I'll give Jamari Gassett an individual grade. He gets an A. He gets an A. Individual grade of like first game performance, he gets an A. But I mean, I saw some people run wrong routes. I saw people bump into each other. We had a drop ball. It wasn't like we were blocking downfield. Sometimes we weren't. I mean, that's the position I'm gonna watch. So I'll give him a B+, C. But as a whole group, probably C. We had a key drop. We had like a big drop. ACN Cobb had a big drop. Don't ever like to see that. On the play Jamari Gassett scored, Ward ran the wrong route, but luckily Gassett got open. Man, it's week 1 things that happen, though. Week 1 things happen. Kobe Gross, I don't know if anybody's noticed, he likes jumping over people. He did it last year. He did it the year before last. So, I mean, I would just expect that you wouldn't really go low on him. I mean, he's a great pass catcher. Kobe used to play receiver. He played receiver in high school. So JP played receiver in high school. The little kid we got from Pitt, monster. He's like, I want everybody to go back and watch the game. He's a blocker, and he can catch the ball. But he is a physical blocker, and
that's Carter Johnson, right?
Yeah, Carter. But Bo Somerset, he got the start. He didn't really get like a hot start running the ball. I feel like it was just like, I feel like some of his play. I feel like he's more of like a Zende Ray. I don't feel like he is a every down back. He's like a gadget back, and you can get a lot of yards as a gadget back. I feel like Wood had a really good game if he didn't fumble. Got to kill him because he fumbled. You know, shake it back next week. At that, Franklin's real smooth. He's a smooth runner of the ball. He's nimble on his feet. He's real big, but he's nimble. I mean, I don't think people are gonna want to tackle any of our running backs, honestly. If I had to take a bet, it'd probably be Wu just because of stature, because he's not short and stocky. He's not like super stocky, but Wu's probably like 210, 200. We had all of our running backs are like 200 plus.
Yeah.
So, but the receiver grade, I'm gonna give him like a 79, 80. Just because only one of them got in the box too. If only one guy gets in the box, it looks like we only got one guy. So hopefully, I feel like next week it's Bragg. So
talk a little bit about that.
All right, everybody. As you hear, those are the guys from the ONG Strike Zone getting in, having their conversation, talking with Coach Nick Dixon, former player at Florida A&M University, as they were getting in and reviewing what happened last week during the MEAC SWAC Challenge that, of course, FAMU won over Norfolk State 23-24. And now, as I wanted to make sure I gave him the proper introduction and lead up that he is supposed to get, it is the dean, y'all, coming into the building, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill from inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Doc, how you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling well, getting ready to see things kicked off this football season. Excited about what that looks like. I get my necktie, collar down, but excited about the Labor Day Classic. I'll be out there to make sure we can get some good insight. But I'll go into the stadium early. We'll be out there tailgating with my son, and then we'll go into the stadium probably about 4:45.
Okay.
Make sure we can set up and get the TV so I can start watching some of those 5 o'clock matchups as we start to see them warming up for the big Labor Day Classic. So I'm interested in a lot of matchups this weekend. And so it should be a great football season.
All right. So, Doc, before we jump into some of those games, let's have a quick discussion. I don't know if you had an opportunity to check us out earlier. We had Coach Penny Lucas White from Alabama State on, who was disseminating and talking about how the volleyball game and the HBCU level is just exploding and things are becoming much more competitive against our counterparts at PWIs and things of that nature. And one of the things that I and Coach AJ talked about was the fact that we can start, one of the things that we really should start looking at is, as we have these NIL discussions, is talking about our women's sports and how those NIL programs can impact those sports, especially say a sport like volleyball. So what would you say to that? How do you think that would work into the space?
I think we need to continue to try to do more for volleyball. I think it's extremely competitive. I've even worked with a couple of former players of the SWAC specifically between Texas Southern University and Prairie View about getting them to look at doing a show or at least doing a segment that we could bring on the BCSN or inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I think I'm close to getting that done. With that said, I agree that if you get a chance to go and watch some of these conference matches, even some of the non-conference matches, they're very competitive, very exciting, particularly when you see teams at the top of the league or in the middle of the league playing each other or at the bottom of the league for that matter. They're very competitive. So you have these rungs of the level of competitiveness throughout the conference. But those top teams like FAMU, Alabama State, Jackson State, and just lately Prairie View jumping into the mix. You have some matches that you don't want to miss in regards to keeping up with those programs. So obviously we just had the retirement of Jackson State's legendary coach, which is interesting to see, how that will turn out for the coach that is coming in to take over a legend space, which is always difficult. But she went out in style, winning the conference last year, dethroning FAMU that had got it done, one of the first championships they won in terms of the Southwestern Athletic Conference. That was a big deal. So a lot of history there over the years with the volleyball, and it's just getting better. And I think with the television revenue that Commissioner of the SWAC, Dr. Charles McCullum, was able to bring in, that's putting these athletic directors and VPs of athletics in a better position to be able to provide more revenue towards the competitiveness of these volleyball programs. So I think that's one way to look at it, to kind of see what is creating the natural change. And I think you just have some younger coaches in the mix that have a different way of finding ways to support their program, getting some extra funds. So I'm excited about the volleyball season, and I'll kind of sneak this in. I know you didn't really ask about that, but soccer is a big time game, and I'm a fan of the World's Game, as they say in Brazil, the beautiful game of soccer, even though Brazil hasn't been up to its own caliber of late. MLS, I sneak and catch a game there. So it's a game that I played young, so I kind of fell in love with it and stuck with it. And so to look at the women's game, I've been having the cheat code the last couple of years with the championship being at Prairie View. And so I've been able to kind of sneak down there. Oftentimes it's around the time of a football game. And so see that game, championship game. And if I'm not, I watch it streaming wise. And those have been some great matchups. And those women put in a lot of work too. So we try to give updates, particularly oftentimes in terms of the top of the races, so people understand going down the stretch who is in a position to win it if nobody's closed it out. And then certainly we get in the tournament, whether it's volleyball or women's soccer. Lastly, I will add, I've had this pain point where I would love to see some men's programs, if not a whole team around the SWAC. And certainly with the depth and diversity in terms of cultural background, or the diaspora, as I like to say, in the state of Florida, I would love to see FAMU and Bethune-Cookman add women's soccer so we can put it in the fold. But even with that, I'd like to see them add men's soccer so that Howard is not the lone men's soccer program at the Division I level out there. We used to have it at Alabama A&M, so that was really sore when they dropped their program. Because you at least had some great matchups when I first moved to Huntsville, Alabama, coming out of school. They had some matchups where Howard would come down to Alabama A&M, and A&M would come up there and play in a soccer classic against Howard, where they bring in a couple of D2 programs as well, and you would crown your Division I HBCU champ, if you would, for lack of a better word, or at least a classic champ between Howard and Alabama A&M, and now it's just one lone program.
Doc, I have been a long advocate that all HBCUs need to use soccer as one of their pillar or primary sports, both on the men's and women's side, because I think it can do wonders for us as it relates to a revenue generator, as well as being able to pull in international students from across the diaspora that would really help with some of our recruiting and other issues that some of these universities have. So let's transition over into football. Let's start off with one of the conversations, Doc. I think this is one of the things that you and I have definitely, I know, both been vocal on and both have strong opinions on it. As we talk about the money games, before we get into talking about the actual games this week, let's talk about the money games that we have. And anybody who listens to these shows knows that I am an opponent of HBCUs playing money games. I think we have to become more creative in ways to be able to go out and generate revenue so that our teams don't have some of these. And Doc, if you take a look at this, we'll just talk about the SWAC for right now. As you look at these scores from Thursday night, of course, Jackson State was in that game that they had with ULM, so that was very good. I think they could have done a few more things. But if you take a look at those two bottom scores, we got Arkansas Pine Bluff losing 0-70 to Arkansas. Alcorn losing 41-3 to UAB. And, these are games that, you get a check. Unfortunately, because of some of the things that happen, a lot of times the athletic programs don't even see these checks. They get dropped into the general fund and do things. And I just don't think that the mental processes that these kids have to deal with being on the other side of these types of games is beneficial to what we have to do. I think we, as universities, we as programs have to get more innovative in ways to figure out how do we generate these revenues as opposed to playing these games and making them mandatory for coaches. What's your thought on that, Doc?
In a way, I agree with you. I don't know it's from the mental anguish perspective or, mental fatigue, however you were framing it for athletes. But I certainly know that could be a concern in this day where mental health is a real thing. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm not talking about mental health. But I'm not sure that much. But one thing I do align myself is the challenge of playing these games. From what I have always spoke about for the last 20 years when they were just on the edge and you had a couple of these games where they were moving from the designation of 1AA to 1A to FCS and FBS, and you started to see the emergence of these games, which is one of the purposes of that nomenclature change as well, for folks to understand that FCS was Division One. As you know, and many people should know, is all other sports, SWAC, MEAC, Southland Conference, the Big Sky, if you would, the Colonial, now known as the Coastal Association, CAA, or FCS programs, but they're Division One in every other sport. I say all that to say is, which means that you're on at least designation platform on the same level as the SEC, ACC, Big 10, and Big 12, and formerly the Pac-12, now 2 members trying to hold up that conference, making up the Autonomous 5, now Autonomous 4. I like to call it Super 2 and Power 2 for those 4 programs in terms of the separation from a financial perspective. But with all that being said, the issue I have is the branding. Right. There is the denotation of what's the dictionary meaning of competitiveness, right? But you also have the connotation where people take their own opinion of what the word has kind of become over a period of time. So I think from a marketing, which gets to the business perspective, our programs that have not been able to win over the 80s and 90s over a long period of time, although they were connected with deep history, what I've attributed, there is a problem with the attendance. And some of that is because your average fan that you put on what we call the escalator for marketing, right? You have those fans that are connected like us. We're so connected that we spend our time, money, and energy, our love, if you would, under your guidance in a lot of ways, in partnerships, right? In Black College Sports Network is to literally cover these games from a network where we almost have a show every day of the week. And we're working on to make sure we do have a show every day of the week. But we have 4 to 5 shows that we cover HBCU sports, and we have other folks that talk about it. We attend these games. We attend the classic games. You just had the announcement with Coca-Cola partnering with John Grant, the executive director, through the ESPN events about the MEAC SWAC Challenge to open the season and the Celebration Bowl to close the season that essentially denotes the Black College National Championship football team. We like to say at the major division level, for the most part, right, with the champion of their game. Well, I say all that to frame it is there's a lot of energy and a lot of attraction to that. The Cotton Bowl Classic, right, in terms of State Fair Classic, I should say, or the Magic City Classic, right, the Florida Classics. There's a lot of energy, a lot of attendance on that, and that's because those rivalries are deep. But even you have some of these games that are just home and home, FAMU and Southern, FAMU and Jackson State, that are non-classic games, Jackson State and Alcorn, right, that have significant attendance filling up home stadiums, and that's because people are gravitating to these rivals. Well, the next step that really helps, and you see this in the NFL because they've created this artificial competitiveness, right, by capping salaries, which is a whole different discussion where I no longer watch the NFL. But from a pure business marketing standpoint, it's brilliant because it's more likely that the teams will be competitive because you cap the ability of bigger cities with more people in it and television opportunities cannot make money to influence what they can put on the field. They can still make money, and that just means they make more than everybody, like you see with the Dallas Cowboys, you know, $1 billion franchise that just crossed the $10 billion mark, while everybody in the NFL is at, you know, $4, $5, $6 million. You got a couple other franchises in basketball, like the Lakers and Boston in the mix. Franchises like the Yankees, Dodgers in the mix. But a lot of that is, you know, because where they place with the media market, right? That frames how you get all this revenue. And it's important. I know it sounds like I'm giving a long distinct, but I really want people to understand, almost as if we were in a class lecture, because that's what I do, is why we talk about branding and the importance of it. It is the megaphone that allows you to generate financial dollars for your program. So to go back to the root of your question, if you play these games where one program has the ability to have 83 scholarships, the other one has just 63 scholarships, that's a differential of 20 scholarships. And that plays out oftentimes in the second half and sometimes in the first half if you can't really get it, where the depth of your team, quality of the team, and now you introduce NIL, where you get a bigger differential. And people already think about that from the denotation, but once it plays out, now they have the connotation that these programs are inferior and they're not good. So why are you going to spend your money to go to a home game unless you are connected high on the escalator like we are to go see these home games? So your average fan or people that just like competitive football games see this as an inferior product, so they're lower on the escalator, if on it at all, which means you have a lot of extra work to do that. So that's a long answer to say why I'm concerned and have been concerned about the FCS, FBS game. Now, I always have to give the caveat. I understand why the ADs and VPs play it. You know it because of the money. That's why we've colloquially come up with the term money games, is to have money to invest into your program. And I use the word invest because it's one thing if you're using that money to literally invest and get better, which means at some point your goal is to not have to use these games because you found another way or source of revenue. But if you're living off these games to literally meet your budget, pay your bills, that is really dangerous because it never stops, which means the deterioration of the brand associated with these lopsided scores diminishes over a period of time. That's not good.
Yeah, Doc, you know, I completely agree with you. And I think one of the things when you talk about that, and I was not a business major, but of course I've been in business for a long time. And a term that I've heard is the diminishing value of return on things that you invest in. And as you use that word so aptly, as you invest in these quote unquote money games, what ends up becoming diminished is the brand, as you mentioned it, because your average fan doesn't, all they know is that you're FCS. And most fans probably couldn't tell you the difference between the FBS and the FCS. So they think you're on the same level. And they were like, well, why is it that FAMU, or we'll just use the game to happen, why is UAPB getting beat so badly by Arkansas? Where we don't understand that when you get realistic with it, the FBS in college football is literally the minor leagues of the pro NFL for the U.S. Those teams are at a
particular for
level.
the SEC and the Big Ten.
Correct. The SEC is just a monster. They are so. I mean, they have better facilities than some pro programs in some of these.
Correct.
In some of these.
You're
schools.
absolutely right. But
And
even
we
when
don't
you
understand.
compare them to their peers, that's why I call it the Super 2 and the Power 2.
Exactly.
People lump them together and call them 4 or Power 4. But you ask any AD, VP of athletics in the Big 12 or the ACC, they will tell you, hell, that's why you have Florida State looking crazy out here and Clemson suing the ACC to try to get out of the league because they want to join the SEC or Big 10 But the Big Ten financially has, and SEC have separated themselves from even their peers in terms of the money they get from the television deal. People don't realize this, as bad as the SEC is in terms of being able to win championships and the fanfare, they actually make less money than the Big Ten. Not by very much, but it's
right.
For real. It is more money that they pay out to their member institutions over the last 5 years. This is not new. This is over the last 5 years that the Big Ten has made more money at a minimum than the SEC. So you're absolutely right. There is a significant financial depth. So I'm not quite as against the G5, the Monroe game against Jackson State, which you saw was competitive, 14-14 in the third quarter, and they kind of made some space, and it probably looks a little more in terms of the differential in that game. But if you had a chance to watch that game, and I stayed up with it, you could see that the difference in the competitiveness is a little different. So if you selectively look at some of the G5 members, and they pay out maybe $300,000, $275,000, depending on the travel, maybe even $350,000, I'm not quite as distolerant with those matchups because the competitiveness there, and we keep bringing that back. Our concern is the brand awareness of the competitiveness of the games. But yeah, when you get those Arkansas UAPB games, Prairie View, for that example, Michigan State, I have major concerns. The other thing I will tell you this, though, people don't realize that now some of this has become a political war framework. And I know people don't always like to talk politics or sports, but we keep it real and we do it here. And the reason I'll make this tie-in because it literally is politics and sports. You may have seen this played out with Grambling State and Southern playing LSU. Well, there were some state legislators that were pushing for LSU to play in-state FCS games because they were playing it. As you know about the SEC, they have a long strategy where members are allowed to play an FCS game because their strength of schedule in the SEC is supposed to be so strong that they've been able to navigate that space and not lose points when it talks about coming to bowl games or playoffs and things of that nature. So they do it, and they still can sell significant tickets for the game and make revenue. But the political side of this is state legislators like, why are you paying an out-of-state FCS program this money, right? Let this money stay in the state. So they started playing the historically white colleges and universities, right, to play at LSU. Well, you would imagine what the talk became when the last two FCS not to play LSU were HBCUs. And a lot of that is because the HBCUs didn't want to play them. Now, they wanted to play them during the segregation time when they had the players of the same caliber that now often go to LSU or go to Florida versus FAMU or go to Texas A&M, Texas versus Prairie View and Texas Southern, and throughout, right? Auburn and Alabama that used to play at Alabama A&M, Alabama State, or Tennessee State, for that matter, in Tennessee. You know it across the board. Jackson State, Mississippi State, because I refuse to call them the other nickname they like to use, or Arkansas and Pine Bluff, for that matter, right? So we go through all that framework, and the state legislators started saying, this is not a good look that we're not playing the two black colleges, and we played all. So you literally mandated. Yeah, no problem. You literally mandated, and I know we need to take a break, so I'll close it up here.
No. That was a complete mistake. You're good.
Okay, we're mandated. They were mandated in terms of scheduling those games. So they scheduled with LSU. It's my understanding it happened in North Carolina, similarly, where they mandated that these largest state historically white colleges play FCS programs in the state. Not only the historically white, but then the black colleges fall in that mold. And so those are things that you got to keep your mind in as well. That some of this now has become a legislative issue in terms of what goes down, particularly in the Deep South. So I imagine in a lot of ways, the Pine Bluff and Arkansas was one of those where they mandated they play Central Arkansas FCS program, and ultimately Pine Bluff was going to be in the mix.
Definitely. Well, Doc, like I said, we talked about that. Just kind of wanted to bring a little light to some other stuff. When we got the Dean on, we've got to get into the business of HBCU sports, because that's one of the conversations. Like I said, I love having those conversations with you, because you bring an insight and you're able to articulate it to the fan base so that they can really understand it. Most people don't get those opportunities to do that. But let's go ahead and jump into some of the stuff that we've got going on this week, Doc. What game besides, and we'll get to your Labor Day Classic last. We know that's your Texas Southern folks and your Prairie View folks. So home, your two schools that you're engaged with are going to be doing. But what are you looking forward to now? During your show, as we showed the clip earlier from Thursday, you were talking to the guys and getting everybody else's look. What games are you looking forward to this week?
Yeah, probably the biggest game I'm looking forward actually is played tomorrow. The second biggest game I'll talk about after that, and we can get into it. But my biggest game is the top 5 matchup. Roy, I do the weekly top 5 matchups. I've been doing a championship since 2002, 20 plus years and counting. And I was the first out there that separated champions between what I call the mid-major division, which is NCAA Division II programs, and NAIA programs, as the major division, which is FCS Division I programs. And obviously, there's the history that goes back to 1920, the Pittsburgh Courier that named a mythical black college champion in the Negro newspaper, which was important. And over a period of time, when you started seeing a little bit of that separation financially from FCS 1AA programs to Division II programs and NAIA programs, back past when Central as an NIA and Division II program dominated the leagues in terms of HBCUs for at least a decade, certainly for 5 years, really dominated, could beat anybody anywhere. After that, you started to see a slow differential. And so I've noticed that a lot of folks that would, deep fans would cover it, would always have a chasm about, whether a 11-1 or 11-0, 10-0 Tuskegee program beating one or two FCS programs, Alabama State, mainly at least one during the Turkey Day Classic, should have a championship over a 9-2 Jackson State program, or a 10-1 if Tuskegee was undefeated Southern program, or FAMU that was coming in at 8-3, 9-2 that played a much tougher schedule. So I used some of that business framework and I separated the two polls. So I say all that because I do a preseason poll. We looked at all 21 teams at the FCS Division I level. And actually later, as AD asked, the last 7, I really focused on the top 21 programs at the Division II and NIA program. AD said, let's get the last 7 in there. So we did 28 eventually and told everybody where the 28 were ranked. Thank you. Shout out to AD Drew for always finding a way to push the envelope. One of my top folks in the class of HBCU sports, as we like to call it jokingly on Dr.
What are your top professors?
What are
your top professor training?
Yeah. He comes in and he moved from adjunct to a visiting professor really quick under the provost, as they nickname me now, saying I didn't move past the dean office, that I'm running the dean. With trying to run the college of HBCU sports, as we like to jokingly say. And I got to put that on a shirt before somebody else does. But with that, exactly. But with all that out there, I had the preseason poll. So I have top 5 matchup in this. I have Alabama State coming in at number 5 preseason wise. I have North Carolina Central coming in at number 1. Then go deeper than that, I was not the only one that thought highly of these teams. In fact, as you know, being there in Birmingham, Alabama, we have obviously Alabama State. Predicted order of finish was number 1 in the Eastern Division for the SWAC. The predicted order of finish in the MEAC was Central, number 1 in the MEAC. So I'm really excited about this game on ESPN2, focusing on this matchup, intra-conference matchup between the MEAC and SWAC. So it's another one of these MEAC SWAC matchups, if you would, using the vernacular of the MEAC SWAC challenge. And so you have Alabama State in their last 5 contests, they won 4 out of 5, playing really well to close out the season in a lot of ways. And you have Central that won 3 out of their last 5. And Central finished obviously playing in the playoffs, 1 game outside of the Central. And last year, FAMU and Central were top 10 teams, top 7 to be exact, in terms of what looked like was going to be a collision course in the Celebration Bowl. We know what happened. History has it that Central went up to Howard, and Howard thumped them and put 50 on them, just like the previous year Central put 50 on Howard. So it was more than just the payback. May have been a statement. So that is one matchup that I'm looking for later this year, the trilogy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to call it, in terms of what happened. We'll see if that's going to come down to play who is one of the top teams or the top team in the MEAC. But focusing now, I'm looking at that. Central defeated South Carolina State back in October to kick things off, essentially in the MEAC, 62-28. They then defeated Norfolk State 38-24. They lost to Howard, as just mentioned. That score was 50-20. Then they defeated Delaware State 54-14. They got an at-large bid to the FCS playoffs, played Richmond, and were leading in that game early. Quarterback got hurt, Darius. But they lost 49-27. In terms of Alabama State, as they were going down the stretch, they defeated Alabama A&M in the Magic City Classic, the big-time rival, 31-16. They defeated Grambling 17-6 in a defensive struggle matchup. And they defeated Mississippi Valley 20-3. They lost to Prairie View on the road 21-14, which allowed Prairie View to clinch the Western Division and play against FAMU in the championship, as we know, historically speaking. And then they had the rivalry game against Tuskegee in the Turkey Day Classic. They dominated and won 41-3. As we will talk about, both Mississippi Valley played Central and Alabama State last year. So fascinating when you talk about that. But I'm looking forward to this. Body transferred over from Texas Southern, was in a quarterback battle. It looks like he didn't get the nod, but he may play a little bit. And so that's going to be interesting when you talk about what that looks like. And then you have Walker that literally played in every game this last year, including against Mississippi Valley. As I told you about, that matchup was fascinating in so many ways, as they played in that classic where Central defeated Valley 45-3. So I'm very interested in what this means on Sunday, the lone, basically, HBCU game at the FCS level. So I'm fascinating in Miami, Beach, Florida. Should be fascinating. So many storylines in this matchup between great coaches that really push the forward. Both coaches are alumni of their institutions, leading their program. So this one has classic written all over it. And it's an early year major statement. Whoever can come out of this game with a victory is going to have a lot of confidence moving forward in their season, because they know that they have been tested in this game. As I said, just about everybody thinks these are going to be top 5, at least top 10 programs throughout the season.
Doc, you're exactly right. And I think one of the things we've got, these early season cross-conference matchups are going to go a very long way to helping to promote what would be happening and what can happen with the Celebration Bowl as we get in there. Because, again, FAMU, South Carolina State, North Carolina Central.
It's my second game to watch. You went there good.
Your whole point, right? These guys are getting it, and so now you're sitting here and you're like, hey, we're gonna see what it is. And we talked about the situation as it relates to what's happening over there now at South Carolina State, as we know that our guy Chinnis Berry from Benedict, who we've watched the last 3 years, and just take a team and just get wow, and doing the things he does. This is another game that you look at, and he's coming in with quarterback from Benedict. So it's not like he's not coming in with an unproven commodity at this level to see what it's going to be able to do. But what do you think the impact of this game is? This is your other game.
Yeah, this is my next one that I wanted to get into. So you gave me a fastball, so I appreciate that. I'm interested in this game because you have two first-year coaches. Both of them have had some success in the past. South Carolina State, Chennis Berry leading Benedict, 2 undefeated regular seasons, winning the SIAC, having some success in terms of getting to the playoffs with open round byes, playing a competitive game last year. Benedict losing late in that matchup as they got lost in the playoffs, obviously. And then you have FAMU as the ball coach over there is getting a chance, and he got it done opening up in that MEAC SWAC challenge with FAMU defeating Norfolk State 24-23. So I'm interested in that. You have the fact that FAMU has not lost at brag, and they like to brag differently. I'll be the first one to put it out there. When you have several seasons where you have not lost at home, you have players that begin to bleed it and earn it, and they don't want to be the guy that stops the streak. We had it in Prairie View before they beat the new stadium. Oddly enough, that old stadium had a privilege when we kind of picked ourselves out of the dust of that 80-game losing streak, bringing in Dr. Henry Frazier III, ultimately winning a championship under the leadership of quarterback KJ Black. There was a period of time where folks just did not want to come to Prairie View because Prairie View had made it a place where they just don't lose. Miracle comebacks and everything. So you have teams that are rivals in a lot of ways coming out of the MEAC. This rivalry goes back to the SIAC days, what people don't realize, when both programs were in the SIAC playing for championships down there. So much history in this matchup. New coaches get to create their new chapter of what that history looks like. So,
okay, as it seems we're having I think we're having a few connection issues, but we're actually getting ready to shut out. Shut down. I know you were talking about it. Yeah, these teams go all the way back to their old SIAC days and doing things. And if I'm not mistaken, that streak is at number 21 of home games being won at Bragg. So I believe we're going for win number 22 today with that one, but it's either 21 or 22. So
the last 5 games, I'll kind of close out here on my side and let you close out officially. FAMU is undefeated, as you know, in those last 5 matchups, defeating Lincoln, non-conference game 28-0. Bethune-Cookman in the Florida Blue Florida Classic 24-7, defeating Prairie View in the SWAC championship game 35-14, defeating Howard in the in the Celebration Bowl, I should say, and then Norfolk State. That Howard game was 30-26 and defeating Norfolk State 24-23 in the start things this season in week 0 in the Celebration Bowl. The MEAC SWAC Challenge. On the South Carolina State, they won 3 out of the last 5, surprising some people because they had kind of had a down year, but they were getting things together. It's been a changeover of some players, so that's one thing to keep you. But they defeated Delaware State 35-7. Central, they lost 62-28. They defeated Howard, the Howard team that defeated Central that they lost to. They defeated Howard 27-24 at home in that matchup. They lost to Morgan State 20-17 in a classic defensive game and defeated Norfolk to close out the season 44-17. So teams are feeling pretty good about there. A lot of history. Just 2 years ago, South Carolina State won the Celebration Bowl against Jackson State, one of the hottest teams out there. And then FAMU won it last year. So you got championship pedigree over the last couple of years. So this is one that has a lot of sweet spots where you can go in different directions to talk about why this is a game to keep your eyes on. And I will be in that mode. As I told you, I'm going to even leave the tailgate early and go tailgate in the suite and start watching this game at 5 because I don't want to miss it. I don't want to be out there distracted by everybody else. So I'm going to be prepared, making sure the suite is white and ready for everybody else, getting ready for the Labor Day. I'm going to be focused watching this matchup as it kicks off to see if SWAC can get another win. It's going to be interesting from this perspective, as we just talked about essentially 3 MEAC versus SWAC games, 2 of them that we're focused on this weekend. So you got a chance for the SWAC to bring out the brooms early in the season, to be 3-0, or you can have the flip-flop where the MEAC gets hot and runs 2 this weekend and takes the lead early 2-1, or obviously you can have it where the SWAC maintains the lead going 2-1 if we get a split this weekend. So you have that on top of it, bragging rights for conference fans. So you have the individual matchups, coaches matchups, debuts, and things of that nature. Home game winning and losing streaks to be started in this. Hopefully it's maintaining a win streak for FAMU in terms of Bragg Stadium. But yeah, a lot of different things. You got a new AD coming in from South Carolina State. Doc up there bringing it home. So you have a interim at FAMU, and FAMU's looking for their next AD. So a lot is on the line in terms of what took place here. Big AD programs. You got AD Doc over there at North Carolina Central leading this program. And then, my man over here at Alabama State leading as well. So with that being said, so many different ways to look at these 2 games.
Doc, I'm going to end with a couple of football points. The first one, I've talked about it. We know that there is parity, especially in the eastern side of the SWAC conference, and then and going across the board even to the west. But the things that a lot of folks are not talking about is what's happening over in the MEAC. Because, we know there are only 6 teams. Everybody, of course, is focused on North Carolina Central and Howard, who are at the top of that. But I'm going to tell you, I told you all last week, watch out for Norfolk State. Dawson Odoms is building his program. He's getting what he wants in place. He's able to start getting things. And I think after seeing what we saw last week, those players are starting to believe in what they're believing what he's selling. And that goes a long way. I think that Chinnis Berry coming into South Carolina State, a historic program that I believe in the last, 40 years has had 3 coaches or something of that nature. So you talk about a program that thrives on stability. And for him to be handpicked by Coach Pugh says a whole lot about what he's doing. And like I said, he's bringing in some folks. So Central and Howard, y'all better watch out, because I've already said that Norfolk State was my dark horse to win the conference. But South Carolina State isn't a dark horse. There's somebody who's been in the fray, and I think they're going to show a lot of people. These kids will run through a wall for Chinnis Berry. He makes a guy that's 30 years removed from college and no more eligibility want to suit up and go out and play when you talk to him. So that's the kind of guy that he is. The second thing I want to say is that we have got to get with our commissioners. There has got to be an official crossover weekend that we do in HBCU football. There has to be, where we are MEAC, SWAC. Well, actually, let's make it easier. Independents and MEAC versus SWAC, because we bring our independent programs in, we can get at least enough of them to come in. Same thing with the CIAA and the SIAC. We've got to have an official weekend where we get that. Because believe me, the marketing on that will be substantial. Yeah. It would be great. And you're talking about creating your own classics now that the 2 conferences can make some money on. Putting your best games, even if you put some of those good games in neutral cities that are striving and starving for HBCU content. So let's think about that. We may have to make a couple of phone calls and put that out there. Well, folks, we're going to be getting ready to get out of here.
One last thing as we're closing up, as you put in, I agree with you. Certainly good in terms of those natures, but I wanted to give another shout out to AD. And for folks that are looking for HBCUs, you can go to my JVN website and type in HBCU television broadcast games, and you can get the list that AD put together of all the ways that you can catch many of these matchups. I'll name just a few of them to officially close out to share what that looks like. As I said, I have number 7, South Carolina State, at number 2, FAMU. Today, that's at 5 o'clock on ESPN. These are Central Times. MEAC versus the Independent will be number 21, Delaware State, at historically white college, Sacred Heart. That's at 5 o'clock. That's on ESPN Plus. You have a MEAC versus the CAA. That is Morgan State at Hampton. That's a good one. That's going to be on Flow Sports. You have MEAC SWAC, the Orange Blossom Classic we talked about today. That is number 1 North Carolina Central. The MEAC versus number 5 Alabama State out of the SWAC. That is 2 o'clock tomorrow on ESPN. You have number 19 Mississippi Valley State and number 11 Tennessee State. I'm fascinating quietly about that matchup, ESPN Plus. Does Tennessee State come out there and make a major statement, or is Mississippi Valley going to find a way to get over the hump and shock the world? Obviously, Labor Day Classic, you have number 17 Texas Southern and number 8 Prairie View. That is at 6 o'clock today on ESPN Plus. On the SWAC, you have a SWAC Southland Conference matchup with number 15 Southern that I have ranked coming in the preseason at the historically white college McNeese. That comes in 0-1 after losing on opening weekend at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Also has some Division II matchups that are starting week 0 as they get to kick off this week. You have number 4 o'clock Atlanta that coach called rat poison. A lot of folks were not sure about their ranking. Well, they get a quick way to make a statement pop as they travel to Fort Valley State, who I have ranked at number 7 at 2 o'clock. That's on the Griot. You have number 1 Virginia Union at number 16 Kentucky State on HBCU Go. You have number 2 Virginia State at number 6 Benedict on NFL Network Hall of Fame Classic tomorrow. And number 22 Johnson C. Smith at number 8 Tuskegee. The Red Tails Classic on ESPNU at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Another interconference matchup is number 12 Elwood Waters at Morehouse. That was on here, and that's at 2 o'clock on ESPN. And number 17, I have Shaw at Elizabeth City State. That's on the CIAA Network at 12 noon, so it's on that, about to be on a little later. Bluefield State at number 15, Winston-Salem State. The Stephen Fighting Gaithers are on at 4:20 on the CIAA Network. So wanted to give a shout out. I'm glad you got a chance to post that. Go to my bcsn.info/where to watch your favorite HBCU during week 1. You can type that in, Google it in straight, or Google in where to watch your favorite HBCU during week 1, and it will come up. So you can get even more than what I just gave, or some of the highlights that we said that you need to make sure you're tuning in. So I thought I'd be remiss if I didn't put that out there. Roy, we can close it up now.
Well, listen, this is why you are the provost, getting it in and getting things done, and just reminding me of the things that I need to do sometimes. So we're gonna get it. As I tell people, you guys are provosts and the deans. I'm gonna be the president because I make sure I got good people around me, and y'all make sure that we do all the stuff that we're supposed to do. And I just make sure I amplify what y'all doing and make you look good.
I appreciate it. You do a great job of that, and really want to say thank you for all the people. So I wanted to make sure I join you today to kick things off. I know it's special for the game time. You'll see more of this. You saw it last week where we were live at the celebration, the MEAC SWAC Challenge in Atlanta. I don't want to rush to the end of the season. I don't want to do that because I'm going to be mad. And when we get there, because I'm like, oh, it's over. So starting things up. Shout out to Executive Director John Grant. Shout out to all the commissioners out there in the background making this work. As you said, we need to work with them and see if we can find a way to be a partner of helping them create a matchup between the conferences, rivalry weekend, if you would, or conference rivalry type matchups, not just for football. And we might have to start with basketball, which would maybe be a little less expensive. So it doesn't have to start with football. You can start with basketball, men's and women's, and make that happen, and then push it over to football years down the road. But I love that idea, and I think it's a great one. With that, listen to us tomorrow. We plan to kick it off. We'll make sure we get it out there at 9 o'clock in the morning Sunday as we do a recap on what took place today, and then we'll start setting you up for that Sunday matchup as well.
And, of course, we will be here at 2 p.m. Eastern with the pregame show for the Orange Blossom Classic, where the Hornets of Alabama State University take on the Eagles of North Carolina Central University. Folks, we want to thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us this morning. Thank you again to Coach AJ for coming in, as she will be kicking off and doing, you'll see her weekly, which she has now, as well as our new volleyball show. We haven't come up with a name yet, but we're working on it, so you guys can expect to see her and Michelle Thomas on that. Again, thank you, Coach.
I think Mike may have a name for you. Dig.
Okay.
All right. Hey, listen, digs and kills.
There you go. There you go.
Diggs,
Again,
kills,
thank
and
you, Coach.
heals. That might be it. Diggs, kills, and heals.
Thank you again to Coach Penny Lucas White from Alabama State, and wishing her and her Lady Hornets the best today as they try to go 3-0 in the tournament that they're having down there at the Acadome. Again, if you're in the area, make sure you get out and go support, folks. Just go down and take a look and see some of this great volleyball that's going on. Folks, stay tuned. Your boy Carlos Brown is coming up next on the network, getting ready with the Carlos Brown Show. Of course, you know Carlos is going to be talking all things Southern football as well as other things that are going on in the diaspora, as the provost likes to say. So you know what? We're going to go ahead and end this Game Time show as this gentleman does every Tuesday, Thursday, and now Sunday, returning for you. Doc, I'm going to lead it off, and I'm going to be course, lecture, and
dismiss.